In the plant-based world, there's a number of different approaches to plant-based eating, and uh, you really emphasize, a wide variety of different foods, more so than some of the other pundits, which is, I like that approach. But one thing that you differ from some people with is nuts and seeds. So, some people in the plant-based world are sort of opposed to that. Tell us about nuts and seeds and the benefits of including them in our diet.
Yeah, frankly, it's kind of strange that there could be any controversy with regard to this, because there shouldn't be a controversy, because there's literally probably 100 studies on the subject that all show positive effects on longevity and reduce cardiovascular death. And, a nutritarian diet, the American diet gets its fat from animal fats and oils, like olive oil and canola oil. A nutritarian diet gets its fat from nuts and seeds and avocado, from whole foods. That's a big change, right? And I'm saying that there's a plethora of studies that show that as seeds in their dietary portfolio, they reduce all-cause mortality, they live longer, and they reduce cardiovascular deaths by about 40%. That's been corroborated. That's been corroborated in numerous studies. I recently published a study about a year ago or so in the International Journal of Disease Prevention and Reversal. We asked Dr. Kim Williams, the former head of the American College of Cardiology and who was the editor of the journal, asked me to write a review article on nuts and seeds for cardiovascular prevention and reversal. And I wrote an article published entitled Nuts and Seeds for Cardiovascular Prevention and Reversal, and I put 50 references in.
Wow.
And I'd have to say that anybody who's an unbiased observer or scientist studying this issue and reviewing all the data could not advise somebody to take nuts and seeds out of their diet. I don't, it's just a very small amount. You mentioned earlier about you were enthused by doctors who embracing nutrition and plant-based nutrition. I was one of the founding members on the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, where 35 years ago, we would have 5 to 10 people in a room, but now their conferences may have 10,000 people, and they may have 20,000 members. There's a lot of, and what I'm saying is, out of these tens of thousands of physicians specializing in nutrition, there can't be more than a handful that advocate removing nuts and seeds from a diet. It's mostly based on mistaken interpretation of the science that happened maybe 20 years ago. And these people who are giving more, I don't want to be critical, but I don't think they update their viewpoints when more evidence becomes available and their prior viewpoints become disproven.
Yeah. I include nuts and seeds in my diet every day. If you were to consume too much, would you tend to gain weight because of the caloric density?
Well, remember I said moderate caloric restriction. So we have to control our calories to the favorable range. Calories do count. For some people saying, just eat everything you want. Just eat, once you eat plant-based, just pile it on. Eat 3,000 calories a day. That's another trick. That's another gimmick. You might gain as much weight, but it's not good to eat so much calories. So you can overeat on nuts and seeds, but you can overeat on on a lot of things too. You could eat too much beans. You could eat too much grain. You could eat too much anything. You could eat just too much fruit too. Too much dried fruit.
Yeah.
So sure, you could eat too many nuts and seeds. There are the people that come to my retreat here in San Diego who are usually significantly overweight, 50 to 100 pounds overweight. I had a guy who's here now 3 weeks. He lost 30 pounds in 3 weeks. The person just left, he lost 100 pounds in 3 months, but they usually lose about 25 pounds the first month, even eating a pretty good amount of calories, eating good amount of satisfying food. But the point I'm making right now is that these people, because they're eating so healthily with so much bulk and so much fiber, they're satisfied with the right amount of calories, and then they gravitate pretty quickly to their optimal weight, and they're not restricting nuts and seeds. Well, I'm feeding them a half an ounce of nuts and seeds with every meal, like a heaping tablespoon of ground flax and chia seeds on their oatmeal or amaranth or their grain and their berries in the morning. They're getting about a half an ounce of nuts and seeds in the dressing on the salad for their lunch with a vegetable bean soup. It might be an orange cashew dressing, sesame dressing, or a Russian fig dressing with almonds and fig vinegar and roasted garlic and tomato sauce. There's about a half an ounce of nuts and seeds in the dressing. Maybe the dip at night has a hummus dip or a salsa dip or something, or the dessert, maybe a frozen banana ice cream with some nuts and seeds to make it creamy. There's about a half an ounce of nuts and seeds in the diet, but that's because these people are overweight, and I'm counting how much nuts and seeds I'm giving them. But people who are athletic or slim or low body fat like you and me who are exercising more can eat more than that because our caloric needs are a little higher. So whatever we're eating, our caloric needs are modulated to our own metabolism, our own basal metabolic rate, our own need for calories, how much exercise we do. But so yes, these foods are not unlimited, but neither do we have to exclude them totally, because that leads to a whole host of different problems. Increased inflammation. For example, the heart relies on ALA, alpha-linoleic acid, to stabilize its myocardia. And you have increased risk of atrial fibrillation on low-fat diets. An increase in the Physicians' Health Study showed a 60% increased risk of sudden cardiac death in men who did not eat nuts and seeds compared to men who ate at least an ounce of nuts and seeds a day. In the Seventh-day Adventist Health Study 2, and when we're talking here about the ALA in walnuts and hemp seeds and flax seeds stabilizing the heart against atrial fibrillation and irregular heartbeat that can cause sudden cardiac death. And it's the same thing. We found the same information in the Seventh-day Adventist Health Study 2. That even among that study is so important because it's studying people who are Seventh-day Adventists who generally aren't smoking and drinking alcohol. They exercise regularly. They're advocates of eating healthy and more plant-based. So among even healthier eaters that were more plant-based, vegans, near vegans, flexitarians, we still saw a 40% change, a 40% advantage, 40% lower rates of cardiovascular death in those eating more than an ounce and a half a day compared to eating those eating less than half an ounce a day in the Seventh-day Adventist Health Study 2, published in 2018. So we have to give more credence to these large studies following thousands of people for decades compared to one or two studies following 50 to 100 people for 6 years or something. We're not going to see really. We have to look at hard endpoints. We have to look at large numbers of people. And all these studies, scores of them, corroborate each other and show the same basic information. So I have to say, no controversy. There's no controversy. The studies, they can't come up, the person having that viewpoint can't come up with studies. They're not there.